Alright, welcome back. Just to give you a bit of an update what I've done so far. I've made a start on the headliner. So I've got that fitted up inside the roof. I'll just try and get a bit of light in there for you. It's probably not going to help that much, but the headliner is put up there. It's just, I've put it in just so it can stretch for a few days and try and get out some of those creases in there, but I think I'm going to have to use heat to get that out. I think a heat gun might be overkill. I don't know, a hairdryer might do the trick, but I'll still leave that just for a few more days. The other things I've been working on, I've put the lens covers on, so I needed to buy a couple of things for that. So first of all, the screws, I had to order those specifically for these ones because the length is the actual type of screw. I think it's a UNF Imperial size. The other thing I needed was the gasket that goes between the base and the actual lens. I had these ones already, so that's the packet of what I ordered, but that's the lens that goes between the body and the chrome part, and I had to get the inside piece. You have to buy these again, so I got these as extra, but I'll just hang on to those. So now those covers are on. There's a bit of a crack in this one here, but I will change it at some point, but not just yet. So the other thing I've been playing around with are the front indicators. So that one is installed there now. I'm yet to do the other side, but I'm going to record that so you've got something to watch. The other thing I've started is just painting up some of these parts. So these are for the seats, that's our engine support, and then the radiator cowl. Just getting these bits just so they're ready, so when I want to put them in, they're ready to go. Another box full of parts came today. What have we got in there? Oh, that's for the upper indicator. I've got another ashtray for the rear. I'm sort of thinking ahead now with the engine. These ones screw on top of the engine to where the rocker bolts are. That's so it can be lifted up. A few screws, bits and pieces, temperature sensor, and these are for the dash because I've got the vinyl to put on the dash, but then that goes on top, so that's another thing. That's for the engine support bracket too. There's two main suppliers in Australia. One of them is pretty good at sending stuff that you put your order in, a couple of days later it comes. The other one takes a little bit longer. They're just, I don't know, maybe they're just swamped with business and take some time to pack stuff. Alright, so what we're going to do now, we're going to get that other front indicator on. So I'll put the camera on the tripod and then we can, or you can, watch me get that sorted. Alright. And just one other thing I wanted to show you too. I actually installed some wiring, so I made up a set of wires just in case at some point in the future I may decide to put audio system in here. So this, and probably all the purist people will say, oh no, you can't do that, but the thing, like, you can make this look the same as it came out of the factory, or you can put your own personal touch on it. I mean, it'd be better if it's got a few little options, but don't sort of affect it anyway. So you got left and right speaker. I've put it in there, even though I don't think it'll ever get used, but subwoofer output, and then the ignition wire that leads to the boot to turn the amp on and off, because it might need an amp just to run the speakers anyway. So that's all wired in there, so that goes up through here, then goes through underneath where the headliner goes, and down there into the boot. And at the moment I've just got it sticking out here, but that'll just stay in the boot until we do something with it. Alright. Okay, so let's get started. So the wiring for the main this left indicator been installed. This part needs to be fixed up correctly, so it seems like that's all the length I'm going to have to play with, but that should be enough. I think that'll be enough. Even a bit less would be fine. So that's all the length I've got to play with, but I'll just undo all that for now just so it's a bit longer. The first thing I need to do is slide that rubber boot on. So what I want to do is utilise the original bulb holders. So all the connections in here, they use these pins, and then you need to put the pin on the wire that slides into there. So first things first, the rubber needs to go on there. Now you know there's 3 holes on here, but we're only going to use 2. So it's likely it would be a good idea to seal that 3rd hole. I did find a little rubber cap lying around, which I've put on the other side, but where that came from I've got no idea. Well, I'll leave that for now. Okay, so what do I need? Okay, so these are the terminal connectors that I'm going to use. Just wait for that to focus. No, it doesn't want to. And the way these work, just grab a couple of those. I need to crimp them on. So first of all, just need to take off some of this covering off the wire. Maybe a little bit more than that. Alright, and do the other side too. I like to fold it in half just to make the wire a bit thicker. Then I can put the terminal on. It's a much tighter fit. There we go. And then crimp that on. I actually like to use 2 crimps and just space them apart. That way I know that it's going to hold and stay on there. The other thing I need to do as well is just bend that 90 degrees, and you'll see why in a moment. So that's the finished one there, and then I'll do this one. Let me just fix that light. Hopefully that's a bit better. You could solder these if you want to, but I'm just using crimps because I want to keep all of these as standard as possible. So if I need to replace the actual, like if I need to replace that thing, then it's going to be easier to do. Okay, and then again I'm just going to bend that 90 degrees. Okay, so that's that bit done. I've already cleaned up the terminals inside, but what I want to do is just to make sure those terminals connect into here properly, I'm just going to bend that a bit, just so when I slide those terminals in, it's a little bit tighter. Now the way I'm going to put these in, it doesn't matter which one goes where, but you'll see if I just slide it in there, then I'll show you what I need to do. I might have made that one a bit too tight, but let me just play. Okay, that one's in. I think it's safe enough to put them both the same side. That's what I did on the right hand side. I'll just do the same again here because I know it will work. I think I might have made that one too tight. Okay, so the way these bulbs work, it doesn't utilise the ground. So the black cable is the ground, the green and red is the positive or coming from the indicator stalk. So the grounding doesn't matter in this case here, because that's not actually connected to the bulb. Alright, so now with those wires done, so the reason why I needed to bend it is because if it's left straight, it's going to stick out too far and that's not going to work. And if it's the other way around, there's not enough room at the back of the boot to have the cables sticking out. So that seemed to be the best way to do it. So now I can feed that back through. Where the little tab is, that needs to go down. And on the boot, there are little holes on there already, so you need to work out what goes where. I think that looks like it might go that way. So that is kind of like looking okay. Yep, I'm happy with that. Alright, so the next thing now is to sort out here what I was able to purchase from a local hardware store, which is unusual because normally everything you have to order online because it's not available as a standard thing. But I'll just open up the pack. So they call these things speed nuts, and you've probably seen these if you've ever installed things like speakers. But if I open up the packet, this particular one comes with I think 5 different sizes, so I needed to buy a couple of packets because there's only 3 of each size in the packet. So that's what they look like. But I only need 3 of them, and then in the packet, the smallest 3. So just give me a couple of seconds to rummage and find all those. Okay, so they're the 3 that we're going to use, and all we need to do is wherever you have these slots here, that's where we need to slide them in. Make sure the open side is on this side, the other side is where the screw will actually grip into. So we're not going to worry about yeah, so it might scrape the paint a bit, but just be careful when you put them on. If you need to loosen them up, you can, because they only need to clamp on just so you can actually keep them in the one spot while you screw them in. So if they are a bit tight, you can loosen them. I might have to go and grab a screwdriver for this one. Alright, so now that one will just slide on nicely. Okay, like that. Now the screws I'm using, the original screws are a bit shorter, so here's the actual original ones because I ended up finding them. So I don't know whether these screws are the correct ones for this particular part, and then there's the original speed nut, which is similar size to that, so that's good. The actual screws are pretty small compared to the ones I'm going to use. I don't think it's going to cause any issues down the line, but if it does, I'll change them then. So back to this bit, just make sure that the slot is facing down, and then push the screw into the hole, and the rubber's actually got holes in there already. Okay, so now we've got all the screws pushed in. I might just pause it and just see if I can find another one of those little covers to go on there. Just give me a second. Okay, so I had a look around, I found one more, and they were left over from some other project, so it's just so I can slide it on there, just to block off that hole. I probably should glue that on, but we can fix it up at another time. It'll do there for now. Okay, now we're ready to screw this whole thing into there. So line up the screws first, but just make sure they're all at the holes. Okay, there we go. So now I can just start screwing it in. Because I was at first a bit unsure about how you get the actual lens on there and the chrome surround. I was trying to think, oh, do you put them on first and then do the screws go the other way? But it seems that this is the way to do it. I haven't actually looked online to see how it's meant to be done, but this way seems to be okay. Like that. Screw does not seem to be holding in there. I'll just do it a bit tighter. I think that screw is slightly smaller than the other two. I need to get rid of that because it's not gripping the speed nut. Okay, then we're going to get another screw. Alright, so let's try this one now. It's slightly bigger, and then yeah, I can feel that gripping a lot better. So you need to make sure this is reasonably tight. That one feels a bit loose as well. I'll swap that one over and get another one, because I don't want to do this twice. Alright, let's change that one too. Alright, this one I've got now, it's the same type of screw, but it just seemed, I don't know, it might have been used on something else before and then put back, but that feels like it's, yeah, that's much tighter now. Okay, so that's that bit. The next thing we need to do now is fit the glass dome. Okay, so with the domes, you have the option of you can put clear ones on, but then the bulb itself needs to be tinted orange. From what I've noticed so far, originally it would have had orange ones, but like just looking at photos, that's what most people seem to put on. So the orange ones I bought, I actually ordered these two first, but actually this one looks sort of more original, like it says Lucas from England, and then this one here, it does still say Lucas up here and then England, but it's a bit faint, and this one's obviously a newer version, but they're slightly, put them side by side, they're slightly different shape. So I had to order another one of these ones, and then now they're both the same. So they're the newer version, but I'll hang on to this one because it looks more original. So I've only got one of those, so I may end up selling it. But so this is the one, and just to keep the people that like to make sure that things are done properly, we're going to make the word Lucas be up the top. But pure, that doesn't really matter, you're not going to see it anyway. Okay, so this actual glass piece needs to go inside this layer here. So the very inside layer, it's got to get squeezed into there. So the way I do that, I inserted the bottom first. Then, rather than using a screwdriver, I've got these tools. These are for using removing upholstery clips and sort of that sort of stuff. I've got a whole set of these, and they're all plastic, so they are a bit more gentle than using a screwdriver. So if you lever up the rubber, you could use a screwdriver if you wanted to. If you're going to use a screwdriver, put some masking tape on it. Alright, I just need to go again. Okay, there we go. And you can just want to adjust it slightly. See how that fits. It's not fitting too badly, but it's not perfect either. I'll just turn it a bit, maybe that will help it settle in. Okay, so now that that bit's on, the final bit is to get this ring put on. I gave it a bit of a clean up because it's been sitting around for a while. So I'll just work it just so I can put the best side pointing upwards. It isn't perfect. It's probably not that expensive, but the more original parts on it, the better. Okay, so to get this one on, now this one needs to be slotted in between the two bits of rubber. So it's going to be a bit tricky, but let's give it a go. Might be easier if I just get a whole side in first. That seems to be working. I don't want to just force it too much. No, that's all come off again. But you get the idea, that's what you need to do. Just try using my hands, because then and work my way around, sort of flick that rubber like that, trying to get that to maybe there's an easier way to do this and I'm doing it wrong, but it is working. Alright, so I'm going to try and just get the bottom in first then. Alright, okay, so that's finally got it on. I'll just sort of wiggle it a bit. So there we have it. That's that indicator installed. So just with that excess wire, I'll just see how much we've got. Needed to work out the clips on that. That's got to go there. So there's plenty for that to fit. Okay. Alright, so let's have a play with the actual indicators. So what I've done with the wiring is the green alligator clip I think is connected to the right indicator, the white one is the left indicator, and then the yellow alligator clip is the positive voltage. But what I've done is sort of just connected them all together. So when I turn on the ignition, it should make them all turn on at the same time. Alright, I just need to connect up the battery, because one feature that these minis don't have are hazard lights, or a switch to make them all come on. So I don't know whether, this is the first time I'm running all four, so whether or not it can't handle that and you need some different type of indicator flasher unit maybe. Okay, so that's trying to run all four and it's having troubles doing that. So I'll have to research how to fix that up to get hazards working. So I'll just disconnect one of those. Alright, let's have a look what we got. So that's that one working nicely. Then up at the back, the right. Alright, so let's switch over that wire just so we can make the other side work. Okay, so the yellow. Alright, let's have a look. So that should be making the lefts work now. So there we go. There's that side. And then cool, that one's working too. Let's go and turn on the lights too. I've got the switch in there ready. So the lights there are working. And what I'll do, because I can't hold the camera and see this happen at the same time, just grab something to make you eye level up a bit higher. Right, that'll do. And now I'll go and press the brake pedal. Alright, so that's all that's sorted. That's all that's sorted for now. Got the number plate working there too. So I'll just disconnect the battery before I forget. Alright, we'll leave it there. And maybe the next video will be the headliner. I've recorded bits of that, but I'll put it all together in one video. And like including gluing it as well. Okay, alright, I'll leave it for now, and thanks for watching my videos.